Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Streamers Unplugged podcast. We are joined today by Captain Maelstrom. We're super happy to have him here. And this is just your friendly reminder that we are posting tons of content on YouTube. So come on, join us over at youtube.com at Streamers Unplugged. You can also come and comment on these podcasts if you're listening to them on other sites on YouTube. So you can let us know your thoughts and your concerns and your questions there. So, all that being said, take it away, Snaz.
Awesome. Sweet dang frijoles. All right. Well, we have today Captain Maelstrom. We have Captain Maelstrom with us today. I am super excited about this one. He is someone that I've had the opportunity to get to know through Twitch. He is a streamer over there, twitch.tv/CapnMaelstrom. Or is it Cap'n?
Cap'n. Yep, there's an N in there.
All the links are in the descriptions of wherever you're watching this, so you don't have to worry about that. We got them all for you.
We got that covered. Awesome. So I always like to start out with an easy question. So Captain Maelstrom, how did you come up with your gamer tag / online identity / what you like to go by?
Okay. I'll take your easy question and I'm going to butcher it because I hope you guys are comfortable because I cannot, for the life of me, tell a short story.
All right.
I'm a nerd. I have always been a nerd, since I was in, probably since I got introduced to my first kind of gaming, which was Dungeons and Dragons. And that was many years ago. And that actually kind of leads into how I got my online persona. Captain Maelstrom is the name of a pirate persona that I used to go by many, many, many years ago. And it came about because I needed an email address.
There you go.
And I had never thought I would ever use this name as a gamer tag, an email, as my Twitch title, everything. Because I had to get a new cell phone. I needed to make a Gmail account. And I was like, oh God, what do I need? What's my new Gmail account? And I thought, okay, I'm going to cement myself as being this gigantic nerd, and I'm going to use a character name. And it has stuck, and it's awesome. Stuck, and it became easier and easier for me to use it for my back when I used to game on console, it became my console account name, and now that I'm streaming, it's become much, much easier to respond to Maelstrom instead of my actual name. But yeah, that it took a while, but yeah, I don't know where. Actually, I don't even know where the name came from. I think I kind of just pulled it out of a hat, and stuck with it.
Your entire persona has been pulled out of a hat.
It was just on a chance. I needed something for an email address, and I was a 17-year-old nerd, and I was like, okay, here we go.
That's amazing.
We love to hear how people got their names, because it's always, sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's like, oh, I just fell into it, or it's always interesting to find out.
It's what Microsoft gave me.
Yeah. It's not,
there are those.
Just by chance.
So
I believe it. I believe it.
That being said, we know how you got your name, and now we need to know how you became a content creator. What inspired you to start streaming?
Honestly, it's a mixture of a lot of different things that kind of got me into streaming. Quite a few years ago, a friend of mine introduced me to Twitch. He is also a streamer. and he does charity streams. He streams a lot of retro stuff. He does really cool things with like playing games with the controller backwards. And he introduced me to Twitch. I started watching other people play, and then I ended up hooking up with another guy who he was a streamer, and I played games with him almost every day. And just kind of always being there and being on stream, and I'm looking at it, and I'm in his Discord. I'm playing games with all these people, and we would do Sea of Thieves, 7 Days to Die, and then Star Citizen, and we started meeting people. And you meet people from one guy that I watch him stream now too, and he's a pretty cool dude. He's from Singapore, and
That's
never in
awesome.
my life would I have thought I'd meet somebody who lives in Singapore.
Yeah.
And the longer this kind of went on, the more I thought, well, I could do this too. I can start streaming. I can meet all these other people. I can interact with so many other, parts of the world and people that play this, things that I'm into or enjoy watching, the games that
Yeah.
I play. And it's just it started culminating a lot of really cool friendships. And a lot of the people that I either game or talk with, almost every single day now are people I've met through streaming. And it's just, to me, that was a really cool thing.
Yeah. I really do
When
like
did
how.
you? Oh, sorry, Snaz. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was say, when did you start streaming? How long have you been streaming?
Oh, officially, I probably should have had this information before we started,
No, you're
but
good.
Oh, it's on the spot. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, that's all right. It's all right. I
We got
don't know
curveballs.
the day exactly, but I've only been streaming probably 7 or 8 months.
Oh wow,
Uh,
awesome.
the most the most accurate number I have is I know that I have reached affiliate on Twitch, and I know I've been affiliate for at least 6 months.
Okay,
That's awesome.
that's a good
That's
marker.
way cool.
Yeah.
Also, that's pretty good to have affiliate within that little window there.
Yeah, honestly, I was just as surprised. And that actually, I don't want to point it towards one game in particular, or one community in particular, but I mentioned the game earlier, Star Citizen. Star Citizen is kind of why I wanted to start streaming, because I've met a lot of cool people there. And when I got into that game, the community in Star Citizen was just so welcoming.
Yeah.
Everybody was so cool about it. Everybody if you ever need somebody to fly with, or if you want to, need a ship, or whatever, yeah, you can borrow mine. It doesn't matter. And giving out millions of credits so you can try out a different ship or whatever. And then I decided, all right, I'm going to start streaming, and everybody that's in that community would, they'd stop by, they'd say, "Hey, how are you doing?" It was just such a welcoming community that it kind of made those first 2-3 months of streaming smoother, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you kind of had that backup, where you
Mhm.
had people that were just really wanted to talk about a game that they loved.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
So I'm going
It's
to go
nice
off
to find
script
a
for a second,
community.
and we're going to throw a wrench in things. Maelstrom, what was the earliest form of content that you consumed?
Oh boy. The earliest form of I mean, I guess it really depends on what we're qualifying as
When it
content.
comes
I
to
mean, because
let's say, because I mean, obviously, as kids, we had Nickelodeon, that sort of stuff, and that's all content
Mhm.
too. But let's just say earliest form of, I mean, you're a video game streamer, so let's go with video games.
Yeah. Um, I mean, if you want to go content, I'll kind of date myself a little bit again. Um, and we'll go to paperback.
Ooh.
Nintendo magazine.
Oh,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my cousin had like a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo. I think it was actually a Nintendo. And then one year for Christmas, my parents got me a Super Nintendo, and my cousin, who is 10 or 15 years older than me, kind of just went all in on it. And he got me a subscription to the magazine and, all that kind of stuff. But I remember I had like a stack of those Nintendo magazines that just would talk about other games. You had the game reviews in it, all that kind of stuff. And again, I can't give you an exact date, but Nintendo magazine is unfortunately pretty old, but
Yeah.
that's probably the earliest form of any kind of content that I can really remember.
That's awesome.
yeah. And that's a very interesting type of content to have been introduced to the whole concept of gaming and all that. Because I think a lot of us have fond memories of like Nintendo, right? Like, sure, like Sony was out there and Xbox was coming out too, but like Nintendo is such a explosive part of why video games are the way that they are now.
Mhm.
And so
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's really cool. So you're new to content creation in terms of streaming and trying to dabble in what it means to post on YouTube and do all those other things that we should do as content creators. So what do you, I don't want to say hate, but what do you dislike about content creation? What's just something you're like, man, I hate doing this because it's so awful.
I I don't want to use the word hate, but when I got into streaming and content creation, I looked up, and researched what are all the things that, makes a streamer successful. And the one that kept coming up is, oh, stream on a schedule. Always, so your people know when to find you. And if you do this on these, the same days all the time, that's going to help you be really successful. I hate that.
I get that.
I've got a full-time job. I've
Yeah.
I've got my lovely fiance, and I'd like to spend time with her too. So I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to spend all my time sitting behind a computer. And maybe some days I just don't feel like it.
Yep.
And having that always, we'll just say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If I don't feel like it that Wednesday, I'm not going to do it. But I'm violating the schedule, and
Yeah, there's
I
this.
hate. I know it's tried and true. I know it does work, but I wish it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and there's this guilt that's associated with that, right? There's this guilt of,
Uh-huh.
the second you decide not to, I should be streaming right now, or I should be creating something. I should be uploading that video to YouTube. Um, there's that guilt associated with it that's like, it's really not gonna affect me that much, and people understand
Yeah.
that, some days
Yeah.
creators just need a break.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, even you go
And
back to books and writing, there's a reason why they call it writer's block. You know,
Yeah.
there's creator's block too. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
And
100% can believe it.
and especially when you're a live streamer, you do feel that pressure like Snazzy's saying and I think that just hitting live because it's on your schedule or you have to is not really going to help you grow as a content creator because I mean, what if there's nobody there, And there's always a possibility that you get a raid on Twitch, right? And then, oh, look, there's 10 people. And if I didn't go live, I wouldn't have had that raid and these, 50 people that got sent in. And so there's that slight fear of missing out that hits you. But I think if you could
FOMO.
take, yeah,
FOMO, yep.
if you could take that one day of like, I'm not feeling like myself and I don't feel like live streaming, you take that day and just make something else and put it on YouTube or make a YouTube short that's not live stream content, right? Like, or a TikTok or whatever it is, and try something different and see if that brings people over to your Twitch account or wherever it is, right? So feeling that
Yeah.
pressure, you don't always have to give into it. And I do agree. The schedule thing is so hard. I mean, Snaz and I, we both have kids and our lives are constantly busy, and my kids think that bedtime is optional sometimes. And it's like, I gotta go live. It's almost 8:30 at night, which is like the only time I can go live because I have children. And it's just like, you want to be like, go to bed so I can go live, or else I'm not going to be on time. And chat's going to be like, guys, you're not on time. You said you're going to be on time. Well, I'm never
we're
on
just
time.
gonna call it out that the Cabbage runs on Cabbage time, and and as much as he likes to blame his kids' bedtime for his lack of ability to show up on time, and I'm saying all this while showing up late today, so I understand that. but he is never on time. He is always 15 to 30 minutes late.
Yep. Sometimes 5. I am on time sometimes, but Cabbage standard time is pretty typical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, I know the feeling. I do it almost every time that I start streaming. Is I hit that go live button and I have the stream starting soon, and then I realize, oh, I forgot my drink. Oh, I forgot my water bottle. If somebody does the hydrate thing, I need to go do this. I forgot to put dinner away, and what should be that like 2 or 3 minutes of stream starting now turns into 15, 20 minutes.
15, 20 minutes of me sitting there in his chat going, is he ever going to turn it on?
Yeah, I've seen you there.
Snaz is good at keeping you in check on if you're on time or not. If you hit go live and you're not there, Snazzy will let you know, because he does to me all the time.
Yep, I've got a couple regulars that keep me on my toes, and
yep.
So
and with
that being said, it's my turn, Cabbage.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So with that being said, we touched on it a little bit about burnout or that desire to that guilt, that pressure. How do you tackle burnout? Like, what do you do to avoid it? What do you do to help with that? What do you do to tackle burnout?
with having less than a year under my belt, I don't know for certain that I've really experienced burnout like some people have. And with the fact that I don't want to say I'm such a small streamer, but I don't have thousands of followers that are besides you waiting in my stream when I start. But I mean, there have been the days where I just don't feel like doing it, or I think about when I'm at work that day and think, all right, this is one of the days I usually stream at night, but I'm really not feeling it tonight. And so far, those thoughts have been kind of like fleeting, so it hasn't really knocked me off my my stride yet. But what I have been trying to do is, go back, sticking strictly with content creation. I try to like go back through my streams and clip, the interesting things that I have, and keep a backlog of clips, so that even if I do get one of those days where I'm just 100% not there, I know I'm not going to be entertaining. I'm not going to, if there's anybody in my chat, I'm not going to be as, friendly with them as I normally would be. I'm going to have that backlog of clips that I could post something to YouTube. I could post something to TikTok. And I try to work from the bottom of that list up, so the oldest stuff comes out first, but I try to keep that, safety net there, so that if I do feel like just not hit and go live, I have something that I can put out that's, I don't want to say minimal effort, but isn't going to cause me to be on,
Yeah. I think that's really important to mention, is having that backlog. It's okay to create batch content. is what I call it. I think that's what a lot of people call it, but just to create content that you have in your wheelhouse that you can just be like, okay, today's not the day, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be late and I'm not going to make it. So here's this clip, or here's this Instagram reel, or here's this YouTube short, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, that you can post to keep yourself, I'm going to say relevant, but to keep yourself in the minds of people and be able to still take that break. So I think that's important. Now, Cabbage, you can ask your question.
Okay. Now I have to think about what my question was. Thanks a lot. No, I guess one of my questions is like, what do you feel like you're doing right now to try and grow your stream or your content on other platforms? Like, what are you like doing right now to like try and make a change? And if you don't have an answer, you're welcome to throw that back as a question.
Honestly, I don't know. I'm kind of just winging it right now. What I do is I watch other streamers and see what they're doing. I try to learn from everything that's going on around me and see like, all right, am I doing that? Am I streaming on a schedule? Am I posting that TikTok? Am I doing everything I can to keep myself relevant, let people know that I'm still there, all the while trying not to overthink it, I
Yeah,
guess.
I get that.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
this is for me, this is a hobby. It's not like I said earlier, I have a full-time job. I'm not doing this for monetary reasons. I'm not doing this because it's, supporting me or anything. I'm doing it because it's fun. So I'm trying to not make it not fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We get that. Totally understand that. I proposed a competition to Snazzy, and he said, if you make this a competition, we will not have fun. Or at least he will not have fun.
I will not have fun. I'm too competitive, and I know that. And the one thing I'm gonna not throw Cabbage under the bus here, but that I respect about Cabbage is the fact that he took that and he was like, okay, that makes sense. I don't agree with you, but but it makes sense.
For me, it's fun and games. So for Snazzy, it's blood and war.
There's a reason my wife and I don't play Monopoly together.
Oh yeah, no, I've made that mistake once. My fiance and I have played Monopoly once, and I don't think we'll be doing it again. We
My
are
wife
both
and I
very
generally
competitive.
my wife and I made it through, I think, half of Monopoly.
Before someone threw the board.
Yeah.
I think that's the case with everyone who plays Monopoly against anyone.
She's like, you just go for the kill. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's a game.
It's a game. Somebody's got to win, right?
Someone, yeah,
Right.
That's true.
I mean, that somebody's supposed to be me, but
I love it.
So, Maelstrom, as more of a, I guess, with being a small streamer and feeling really that getting labeled, I guess, is what happens. And I don't like to call that label out because I think that everyone who's a streamer has an opportunity to be something more than that. And there's lots of communities out there like, we'll get you to affiliate, right? And then they disappear after they do. And then you're stuck in that like, oh, we did it. And then we got stuck. So when you're streaming, and this would be helpful for anyone who's kind of in your boat of like, I'm new, I'm starting, and I'm figuring this out. Like, what do you try and do when chat's quiet? Maybe there's nobody there. Or you're hoping people are watching and still trying to keep it interesting.
well, I mean, some of the things that have worked for me so far, I've kind of gotten lucky. I have a great group of friends that we've gamed for years together, and now even that I've taken it into streaming, they still game with me. So a lot of times it's nice because currently we're playing Project Zomboid multiplayer game, and with having them there, even if there's nobody talking in my chat and my bots are still just randomly throwing out thank yous or whatever's, but nobody's responding to them, I can still have, conversations with them. And honestly, some of my, at least I feel like my funniest content or some of like the best stuff has been just from us, you know, chit chatting, or when it gets to be 1 o'clock in the morning and you're kind of saying things you don't realize what you're saying anymore.
Yeah.
That has been a huge help. But like when I'm playing a single player game and I don't have that safety net of my friends to uh, be there and keep me up, I just talk to myself. I
That's
I
awesome.
do my best to not look at the view counter,
Yeah.
because when I
That's good
when I first
advice.
started streaming, yeah, and that was something that I read in that almost every, like, what to do to be successful on Twitch is don't look at the view counter. And it's true. It's 100% true.
Mhm.
If you look at it, you're going to stress over it, because I know when I first started, I thought, it's not that big of a deal. I'll leave it on. I'll have it on my second monitor here and I can see it out of the corner of my eye. And then I found myself constantly looking over, how many
Is
people are
anybody
there,
watching?
how many, yeah, is
Yeah.
anybody watching, how many, and it, when I would go back to clip stuff, I would see myself doing that.
Mm,
And then I realized, if I'm seeing myself doing that, that means my clips are showing me doing that. Anybody that's in the chat is seeing me do that. And I thought, I don't want to stress over that. I don't want
Yeah.
that to dominate what I'm doing here. So
yeah.
yeah, I turned it off. And then, like, I'm Mondays I usually play single player. I talk to myself the whole time,
There you
as
go.
much as I possibly can.
Talk to yourself and turn off that view counter.
I
Um,
like
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Great advice. I think that's great advice for new streamers just starting out. Um, Learn how to talk to yourself and
Hmm.
be interesting, because that is a huge key. Is It's
Yeah.
a lot easier to be interesting when you got friends and you're playing a multiplayer and you're laughing and having a good time. 100%.
Oh
But
yeah.
when you are by
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yourself or playing those single player games, yeah, I agree. Talking to yourself is, and that's a weird thing to say, right? Like, oh, just talk to yourself. I mean,
Oh yeah.
all content creators that you see out there that are making their content on their own on YouTube or whatever,
Mhm.
unless, they've got their own cameraman, which a lot do. But there's plenty
Mhm.
out there who are just in their living room talking to a camera. And that camera, they are behind that camera, they're seeing, 1,000 people or whatever it is. That's who they're projecting to, right? So you got project to
Mhm.
that audience that's behind that camera. So you're not talking to yourself necessarily. You're talking to those people that are behind yourself and behind that camera
Yeah. Yeah.
reflection, right?
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
think I think it's important to remember that we get it's really easy to get bogged down and say, oh, there's only two people here, or two people showing up to my stream, or
Mhm.
three people showing up to my stream. Um, it's really easy to get bogged down in that. But it's also really important to remember that that's two or three people that have taken time out of their day, a resource they don't get back, to spend that time with you.
Yeah.
And if that's where they're going to spend their time, dang it, be grateful for it. And I know it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes because it's like, oh, look at this guy who's got, you know, 80 viewers right now, and or 100 viewers, 2,000 viewers, and I'm way more interesting talking to myself than he is. You know, it's like it's easy to get in that rut and get into that mindset, but it's so
Mhm.
important to remember that that's still two or three people that came out to see you,
Yeah.
and
And especially when
and you
you're
got to remember
live.
why you started. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you're live,
Yeah.
like, they're they had to stop whatever they were doing to be in your live stream. when they're watching your YouTube video or whatever, like they can watch that whenever they have time to do it. But
Mhm.
if they're there when you're live, they are taking that time out of their day to be there to show their support, which I think is something that maybe sometimes people forget about. It's
Mhm.
like I always wanted to be supportive to those people who helped me get to affiliate, and they'd be live, but it was like, 6 o'clock in the evening and I'm making dinner and trying to help my kids. Like I wanted to support them, but it was so hard to do when my life was happening during that time. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
Yeah,
definitely,
yeah,
definitely seeing those people there.
and that's been. I mean, that's I don't want to say something that I found difficult, but a lot of the people that either got me into streaming or made me feel comfortable streaming or have just been like, super cool to hang out with. A lot of them a lot of them stream during the day, which I've always been jealous of because I'm at work, your
Oh
normal
yeah.
8 to 5, 9 to 5, and then, these guys are streaming playing video games in the middle of the day, and I like you're saying, I wanna support them. I wanna be able to go and hang out in their stream, but, I'm working, and that's, that has been kinda hard because I won't say I feel guilty, but, like, these are people that, either gave me my boost or, you know, really pushed me along, and I can't show up as often as I want to, but, you know, also that being said, all of them when I do have that, my lunch break and they're still streaming or I get done work and they're still on, are just as cool that when I show up for 10 minutes or I show up at the very end of their stream just to say hi. There isn't that, oh, well, you weren't here the whole time. You know, they're just as happy to see me for just that couple minutes, and which
Mhm.
is kind of made me feel like I've found the right communities to be a part of?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That snazzy guy that's in your chat, he's pretty cool. Uh,
I mean, I don't know. He's kind of a.
I don't know,
And
if there's one you had to get rid of, it would probably be
If I
me.
had to get rid of anybody, I mean, it's so hard to choose, but
I
one
love it.
thing that you'll notice too as you continue in this journey is you'll have people who come in and say hi, and you remember people. Like they may not come back for 3 months, and they do. They're like, "Hey, it's been a while. Like, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I remember you. We had this like short conversation a few months ago." And like they love it when you remember them.
Mhm.
If you can make it your mission as a new streamer to be like, that person's been here before, I recognize them, like I'm going to make a special effort to be like, "Hey, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here." Um and if you have a new viewer, it usually tells you it's a new chatter on Twitch
Mhm.
now.
yeah,
It's a newer
Yeah.
feature of Twitch. But like before you didn't know. But like, yeah, you can always see when those people are back and you're like, "Oh, I remember you. You're awesome. Thanks for being here." Cuz sometimes people who are coming in to view live streams or other content, like sometimes they might be struggling, you know, with something in their life, and they're just there
Mhm.
cuz you're there at that moment. You're their getaway from whatever it is they're dealing with. So if you can
Yeah.
welcome them in and be like, "Hey, it's good to have you back." Then one, they'll come back more cuz they know you care,
yeah,
but also like you get that like boost for them of like, oh, this person who I've never met and only knows me by my random Twitch username or whatever it is, like they care that I'm still here. And I think that that's super important to spread that to people. So
So
yeah.
we are, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. Just on that topic, I've, I think twice I've really experienced something like that with my streaming, where somebody comes in and talking about them really going through something. Um, I have very vague memories because I was doing a very long stream that day, but I had somebody come in. They chatted normally for a few minutes to start, and then I don't know if something another chatter said kind of pushed them in that direction, and they just kind of opened up. And they started talking about how they were, things, all this stuff was going wrong, and I think their girlfriend had broken up with them or something, and uh, I think I was playing Star Citizen at the time, and I kind of remember just floating through space, not doing anything, while myself and another chatter talked to this guy and gave him that ear to listen to.
Mhm.
And I think maybe 45 minutes where we just kind of chatted with him and kind of, helped him as best we could. I mean, I'm not a therapist or anything, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to talk. I've, been through my fair share of tough situations too. And by the end of it, he thanked both of us, a lot. And I'm hoping things worked out for him. But, it was nice that just that in that, we'll say brief exchange, we gave that guy somebody to listen.
So we're kind of running down on time here, but I've got 2 more questions, or 3 more
Sure.
questions that I want to
Oh,
ask.
okay.
Number 1, if you could change the type of content you create, what would you do?
Uh, I'd
Get
still
on.
like to stream. I do like the live streaming. And I've seen 1 or 2 other people that I follow on Twitch have done this. I would love to do real life streaming
Mm.
where they take one of the guys I follow. He usually plays Sea of Thieves, but he was trying it out, and I liked it. A lot of his people liked it too. He would go on hikes with his dog, and he would take his camera with him and just stream while he was out with his dog hiking through the mountains. And
That's
I
awesome.
would love to do something like that instead of if I had to give up video gaming, that's what I would want to do.
I like that. I like that. I like the IRL streams. I think they're unique.
Yeah.
Is the best way to put it in
Do
my
cooking
opinion.
with Maelstrom. You're
I
making
do.
dinner.
I mean, if you can't tell, I love to cook, but I love to eat. We'll put it that way. I love to eat. If I'm sure my fiance is going to hear this. I'm okay at cooking. She's a lot better.
I just to follow up, I don't know if you were there last night, Maelstrom, but we did a cookie chat is what we called it. And it may be getting a different name, I'm not sure, but Cabbage is afraid of eating too many cookies. But we talked about me making I had pork on the smoker all day yesterday for pulled pork. And it got done at midnight. And I had it tore up by 1 a.m. ish. It was like I think I went to bed at like 12:30, 12:45.
Late smoking with Snazzy.
Yeah.
In our next
We'll call
video.
it smoking with Snazzy.
Smoking with Snazzy.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff's cool though too. Being able to if you I didn't catch it because if you were streaming that late at night, I'm usually
Yeah,
long
it was
since been
pretty late.
asleep. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess Twitch calls it like just chatting or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, being able to just hang out with your community and while you're cooking or whatever it is you're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I dig that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So what's stopping you from trying it?
I hate to lean on material things, but I think equipment. Because watching that guy do his hike with his dog, uh, he did it the first time with his cell phone, and it proved to be very difficult. He was, constantly losing connection. Everything was pixelated, and then I guess that either the next time or the next time I caught him, he had severely upped his game. And he had like mobile routers and battery packs and
An
shoulder
entire
mounted
hiking
cameras.
backpack and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. And yeah, I can't get into
Yeah.
into that kind of
Hiking with all that
trying
sounds
something.
terrible.
Yeah.
I hiked
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, no, that's
I
a
hiked
little
once, is
too
that what
much.
you said?
That's what I said.
Oh my gosh. What's your third
Yeah.
question for that?
And then my third question is, what do you do to recharge your content creating batteries?
Uh, well, just recharge my batteries in general. I kind of spoke about it briefly earlier. Um, with cooking, my fiance is a great cook. I'm okay, but I'd like cooking with her when we like we'll instead of not something normal, but we'll dig out a random cookbook and we'll make something complicated. Doing stuff like that, making things with my hands. I love being creative. Um, Off stream. Actually, tonight before we got on our call here, I was playing D&D with my friends.
It's awesome.
Uh, so, I mean, also I'm sure everybody does it, but letting the couch grow out of the back of my head, sometimes hanging out and my fiance and I will spend an entire Saturday just binging a show or something, whatever we have on Netflix or HBO or whatever,
Yeah.
and just
Or YouTube,
kinda
streamers
or
unplugged. I binge
YouTube,
those
yeah.
guys, but
Yeah, basically,
shameless plug.
hey, no, plug away, man. It's your show.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And then just finally, Maelstrom, tell us a little bit about where we can find you, when we can find you, and what you do.
All right. Well, I am Captain Maelstrom. I am a variety streamer. My scheduled days, I do typically a single player game on Mondays, a multiplayer game on Fridays, if everything permits. So I'm on Twitch, I am on YouTube, TikTok, and I believe that's actually it for right now. I'm not real deep on the social media game, but if you search Captain Maelstrom, you're probably going to find me.
That's
Awesome.
a great feature to have.
That
well,
is.
well, we are super
Mhm.
excited to have had you on the show and to have this
Yeah, thanks for
conversation.
having me.
And I hope that we've helped you and you've helped us. And for anybody who's listening, again, thank you for listening in and watching. And feel free to ask us questions, put your comments in. And if you ever want to have a follow up with Maelstrom, let us know. And we will for sure have him here again, or maybe we'll join his space adventures or something in a on a different day and a different channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for coming, and see everybody on the next one.
On the next one. I like it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Subscribe.